Alright, today boys and girls, I'm going to teach you how to create what's called a tessellation, a translation tessellation, to be specific. Now a tessellation, as you know, covers an entire surface with no gaps and no overlapping. And so what we're going to do is use the Paint program on your Chromebook to create a tessellating shape. Then I'm going to have you turn it into something with an eye, something lifelike that will give it some personality. And then from there, once you've created some samples of what you might possibly use, you're going to use that to tessellate the entire surface. So this is going to be an exciting lesson, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's get to work. So what you're going to find here is you're just going to open up a Google tab, and in the URL box you're going to type in jspaint.app. jspaint.app. Alright, and what you'll see here are various tools. I'm just going to walk you through these tools briefly so you know how to use them. The first tool we're going to need to use is this line tool, and the line tool has different thicknesses, and we're going to pick a medium tool, which are medium line thickness, which is basically a 3-pixel line thickness. So if you go ahead, you can use this to kind of draw some straight lines, okay, and play around with it a little bit. Also, if you hold the shift key, you can keep those lines perfectly straight in different directions or at 45-degree angles. All right, another tool I want to point out is the command Control Z, which undoes your work. So if you hit Control Z, you can start to see all those lines disappearing each time you hit Control Z. Now Control Z is going to be essential, so don't forget Control button Z. That's going to eliminate or erase what you previously did. Okay, and that's going to be important because as we make mistakes here, we're going to want to hit that Control Z to undo. You'll hear me say Control Z. Alright, so we have the line tool, the thickness tool. Now we also have the shape tool, which is right here. So when you pick the line thickness, which is 3 in this case, and we have the shape tool. So if you draw this out, you can draw some rectangles. Control Z, Control Z. What I'm going to show you is how to constrain that rectangle to a perfect square. And the way you do that is by holding the shift key. You hold the shift key, left click, and drag it out, and it becomes a square. Now you want to let go of your mouse button before you let go of the shift key. Alright, so I want you to try that a couple times. Make some perfect squares. And again, you hold the shift key, left click and drag, let go of your mouse button, and then let go of the shift key. And that will give you perfect squares every time. So those are the basic tools we're going to use. There's one more tool which is a little more complicated. It's the curved line tool. Now you don't have to use this, but I think it makes nicer tessellations that are more organic. So if I select this tool right here, the curved line tool, here's how it works. It's a 3 move line. Okay, so watch carefully. I'm going to left click and drag the line. I let go of my mouse button, and then I left click and drag again. I left click and drag again. So you can see it's a 3 moves tool. So again, left click and drag, left click and drag, left click and drag. And so you can make all kinds of really cool lines with this one. Alright, so let's hit Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. We're going to, again, eliminate that. You can practice playing around with that curved line tool because I think it's a nicer tool. You could use just the straight line tool as long as you stick with certain rules. Alright, but you're going to see as I go through, I'm going to use the curved line tool. Alright, here's what we're going to do to start our tessellation. We're going to, again, click on the line tool and pick the 3rd line thickness. Then we're going to select the rectangle tool, and we're going to hold the shift key and make this a big square. Now, not too big. You want it less than half the size, and you can see on your little canvas here, This is about the halfway point. You can see where it is. I wouldn't go beyond the halfway point. Make sure, if you did, just hit Control Z and then start over again. But you want third line thickness and a perfect square. So I hold the Shift key, left click and drag, let go of my left click, and then I let go of the Shift key. All right, from here, again, we're going to select the curved line tool, and I'll be speaking to you as I go because it's important that you make the right moves. So I'm going to start in this top corner, start in the top left corner, and what we want is we want basically this left side to be the same as this right side, and this top side to be the same as this bottom side. All right, and we can do all kinds of cool combinations from there. So let's try this out. So I left click, and I'm going to drag down probably about right to the center of the square. If I drag to the center, that gives me a nice starting point. Then I'm going to left click again and move it down, and then left click again and move it up. So it's kind of a nice little S curve right to the center. Then I'm going to click again. So again, it's a three-part move. Left click and drag out to the corner. Now it has to go right to the corner. There should be no gaps anywhere. You'll see why when we go to color it. Then I'm going to left click this direction, and I can kind of see what I like here. I mean, I could go in this way too, actually. Maybe I'll come up this way. I don't know. You kind of have to decide. You can play around with this a little bit, and then left click and drag again. Yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. All right, so I'm going to keep that. Now the next move, again, using the curve line tool, is to come in from this top right corner, and this time we're going to come somewhere up here. You can't overlap. Do not overlap into this previous shape. That's the rule when creating the tessellation. So I'm actually going to, let's see, I might come up this way, come up here, and then for my left click again, I'll come, maybe I'll come out like this a little bit. Make it a little sharper. Okay, so here we go again. Left click from this point right to this corner. We want to go right into that corner. And then I'm going to come down and left click and bring it back just a little bit. So it's almost like a V shape. There we go. All right, so that'll do. And again, yours doesn't have to look like mine. You can try this as many times as you like until you get it right. What we're going to do next is grab this selection tool. Now it's important once you grab the selection tool to check down here. There's two types of selection. The first type of selection is going to select everything, and that's not what we want. So you want to make sure we have the second type of selection. This is what we call a transparent selection. We don't want the background coming. We only want the lines to come with us. So we're going to, again, click on the selection tool and make sure the second option, transparent selection, is selected. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this portion of our design, just this portion. We want to make sure we include everything here on this side, because we're basically going to copy this line and we're going to bring it to the other side. So once it's selected, you'll hit Control C and then Control V. Control C copies it to the clipboard. Control V makes a perfect copy. See how that's a perfect copy? We're going to then take that and we call this translate. We translate it across and line it up with our other side. So we're going to translate it. And when you think it's perfect, you just click to unselect it. All right, then we're going to do the same thing with this top line. We want this top line to be selected. So I'm going to select here and make sure I include the whole thing. I hit Control C to copy it, Control V on my keyboard, and I'm just going to simply take this and translate it down. And what that's going to do is going to make it so that my shape now will continue to translate to the right and up and down. It will tessellate the entire surface. Now, we're not done yet. We have to do some cleaning up. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the magnifying glass because we need to get rid of the original square. You see how there's an original square here? All these stray lines need to be gotten rid of. So let's go ahead and click on this top line. And we're going to move this over just slightly. What we want to do, once we've zoomed in, we're going to grab the eraser tool. And the eraser tool will take on the same thickness as our line tool. So we can take a 1 or a 2 or a 3. I'm going to take a 3. And what I want to do is just erase. I just want to erase that original square right now. So I erase that original square, and over here is part of my original square as well. And actually I don't need this part either. We can erase this part that's sticking out, because what we want is just basically a shape that tessellates. So in here, this is part of my original square, so I'm simply going to drag and erase it. And again, I zoomed in using this zoom tool. And this is going to help me get rid of all these little details that I don't need. So I'm going to come in here and erase, erase, erase. Now here, just be careful. Now again, if you mess up, if you poke a hole somewhere, like let's say I poke a hole here, I can just hit Control Z to undo that. Alright, but what you want to do is take your time and work your way around the entire square. Take that original square out. So I'm going to grab this bar over here and I'm going to take this original one out. Now when I think I'm done, I'm going to go back to the original and go back to 1, and there it is. Now I'm going to click on double here because I see that I forgot to erase some of these things down here. So I'm going to go to the eraser tool and I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to erase this. I don't need this. That's part of my other tessellation. That's part of the other side. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all that so that what I'm left with is a basic shape. Now we can go back and go to 1 magnification. Now, right now this might not look like too much. Okay, but I'm going to show you a way you can make it look like something. And before I do that, let me just show you the idea here. So what we've done here is we've created a tessellating shape, and I'll prove that to you. So if I can hit Control C, Control V, I can take this original shape and now I can move it right over here and lock it in perfectly going this direction. I can also take it and I can take that original shape and lock it in going up and down. And so what we're going to do is use this to our advantage. We can create a tessellating surface. Alright, Control Z, Control Z. So I just want you to concentrate on the first one for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to move it over a little bit up into this corner because we're going to make 3 or 4 of these. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. Again, we take it, select it, and bring it up into the corner. Then you're going to hit Control C and Control V. Now what I'd like you to do is bring that one over here. And before you click anywhere else, once you've placed it, you're going to come up here to Image, Flip, Rotate. Flip, Rotate. You're going to click that and you're going to flip it 90 degrees or rotate by angle 90 degrees and push OK. What that's going to do is going to flip it on its side and it will still tessellate, but it gives us another option in case we see something different in this one. And let's do that one more time. So we're going to hit Control V. We still have the original shape on our clipboard, and we're going to put that one down here. And this time we're going to go to Image and Flip Rotate, and we're going to do 180 degrees. Let's try this. Do it 180 degrees. Alright, now again, this will also tessellate. So each of these shapes individually could tessellate an entire surface. Alright, so now the fun part begins. This is where the creative part begins. What you're going to do is you're going to add an eye. Okay, because we're going to make this into a living creature. It can be creative, it can be as cool as you want it to be. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back up to our circle tool here. Circle tool, and we want to select this one, which means it's an outline only, because we're still in the designing phase. We want only a framework, so we're going to click on this line only. And it's circle, line only, and I want you to put an eye. Now, how do you make an eye? Well, let's do it over here. We'll do it right here. We're going to take and drag out a circle. You can make it thin, or you can make it big and round. It's up to you. In fact, let's make a couple. We'll make a thin one and a round one. And then what you're going to do next, inside that eye, is another circle, except this time you're going to fill that circle. So you can click on this one with a fill. Actually, you can do a fill only. And you can make the eye looking down, like that, depending on where you put that eyeball. All right, let's try another one. So again, we click on the circle tool, and we click on the line only, the outline only, and we're going to make this one more narrow, like an oval. And then we click back on the oval tool, and we go to fill only, and we can drag a little dot. So there's a couple eyes that we can use. Now, if we select those, we can kind of take those and put them where we think it might look like an eye. I could put it here. I could put it down here. On this one, it's pretty good. I could put it either place. This kind of reminds me of a bird that's flying. So I'm going to put that one there. And I might take this eye, and I could put it here. And that kind of looks like a bird too. These look like birds, I think. If I move it around and I kind of imagine what it would look like, that kind of looks upside down. I could put this one here. Maybe I want to copy that. Control C, Control V. So I got another copy of that eye. And maybe I could put the, ooh, this looks like a fish. Well, let me try this other eye. If I take this other eye, and if you can't copy it, that's fine. Control C, Control V. You can always just make a new eye, right? Oh, that kind of looks like a fish to me. Looking back behind, trying to see what's going on behind it. Well, that's kind of cool. So maybe I'll keep that. All right, and then you can decorate a little bit by using these line tools. You can make all kinds of decorations. Like I said, I see in this piece, I kind of see a pelican. So I might do something like this. I might do something like this, like a pelican. Yeah, and then from here, drag it out to here. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little pelican. Maybe it looks like a little bit of a pelican or something. Yeah, I like that. And then come down from here, from the nose to this point as well, and just simply drag it down using that curved line tool. Kind of drag it under the eye and round it out. Now you can see here I left a little bit of a gap, and that's a no-no. You don't want to leave any gaps. So if you do leave a gap, you can come in with the straight line tool and just close off that gap. You don't want to have any gaps, because when you color, what's going to happen, like let's say we pick a color like this brown color, and I want to color in here. If there's a gap, it's not going to be good. It's actually going to spill out into my design, and I don't want that. So that's why we make sure all of our black lines are touching and enclosing. And like right here, I'm going to have to go back, click on this black, and then use a line tool to kind of make sure that's thick enough. There we go. All right. So we could do that, and let's go ahead and zoom back out, and we can add some more things. Actually, you could keep it zoomed in if you wanted to, and add just little wings. Right, a little line for the wings, and maybe put some little feet or something here. You know, if I take this circle tool and I drag out, oops, Control Z, and if I drag out some little feet, like these little toes or something, and then 2 lines, kind of like his legs. Yeah, so maybe there's a foot, there's the wings, and in fact I can even kind of get creative with this as well. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I like that one, and maybe I even I can go back to that fill and I can put a little nose thing here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Now again, that's going to tessellate when we go back. Now, I do want you to do all 3 of these and create your own designs. Okay, so you'll do these last 2 on your own, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to take this and use it. Now, before we go, what I want you to do is save your work. So you're going to go to File and Save As, and what that's going to do, it's going to download it into your computer, and you'll just want to open it up and rename it. So what you would do is you would open it up, show in folder, and then you would go and rename it. And I'm going to rename this Tessellation. Tessellation Trials, or Tessellation Types. Alright, if you need to reopen it, simply go to jspaint.app again, and then you'll come up here to the File menu, File, Open, and there it is, right where you left it, Tessellation Types. Alright, open that back up, and remember we are working on this piece. I mean, you might not have left the video, but I wanted to show you how to save your file and then reopen it if you needed to. So this one we know is going to tessellate. So actually what I can do is get rid of this, and I can show you how this will tessellate. When we select, remember we need our transparent selection right here. Make sure you have transparent selection. And so if I Control C to copy and Control V to paste, I can see that this will definitely tessellate. I can fit it right together, and it perfectly fits together that way, and it perfectly fits together up and down, and that's what we're after. Alright, so I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that. Now I'm going to decorate these next several, and you can feel free to watch me, listen to the music and watch me to get some inspiration, but I want you to make your own tessellations. So you should have 3 possible tessellations when you're done. Alright, once you've created your tessellations, each one of these now should be able to tessellate. So if we take and use the transparent tool to select it, and we hit Control C and then Control V to copy, we'll notice it fits right together. This direction and this direction. Okay, so you could take any one of these and tessellate them. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do that next. So the next thing you're going to want to do is open up a new canvas. So actually, let's pick one of these. Let's go ahead and pick one of these. Maybe we pick the original one. Any of them would work. So I hit Control C to copy it. And then I'm going to go over here, click File, New, and push Save. Obviously, I want to save that. Alright. And here's our new canvas. So now I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And what I want to do is put that right up here in the corner. And then I'm going to hit Control V to paste another copy. And I'm going to then fit this right here. It has to be almost perfect. So you can use your up and down arrows. Alright, Control V. Let's get another one. If you mess up, again, always hit Control Z to undo. So at this point, what I can do is then take and use my selection tool and select all three of these. So I got to start way low, make sure I get all of this in. Control C, Control V. And now I have an exact copy and I can start going down. Try to get that as perfect as you can. Control V, which pastes another copy. Put it as perfectly as you can. Control V. And you have to go off the page here. You will have to go off the page. Control V. And we're going to go off the page this way too. So frontwards, backwards, we want to fill the entire page. Control V. And make sure there's no gaps. Make sure everything is fitting tightly. Control V. There it is. One more time. Control V. And I put that here. Now you notice over here I'm missing the front of the face. So here's what I'm going to do. I hit the selection tool. I'm going to get the front of this all the way down. Select it, Control C, Control V, which gives me another copy, and immediately I can move that into place. So now I have tessellated the entire surface. Now these are all white. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to take and change one of them or two. You know what? I can alternate two different colors. So if I take my left click button and I do this one and then this one and then this one, we're going to alternate. Oops, Control Z, because that must have had a little bit of a leak. So yeah, right here, this one has a little bit of a leak. So I got to go back to my black line, pick my straight line tool, and make sure I fill any of those areas where the lines are leaking through. And then I can simply come back. And if I don't remember what color I picked, I can just pick the color picker tool. And then go back. So it would be this one, it would be this one, it would be this one, it would be this one. So we're alternating our pattern all the way across. Alternating all the way. So that looks pretty good. Now again, I could take another color and make one, I don't know, maybe a magenta, maybe a light pink. I don't know. What's that look like? Let's go with a little bit. I like the magenta. Ooh, that's striking. So if I come in and paint these a magenta, I'm in good shape. And then again, what you would need to do is up here, up here, up here, and then on these sides, this would be this color, and this one would be this color, and then we have to, again, if we need this color that we used before, we can use this color picking tool, click on it, and there it is. And I think that's it. So again, you will save it as, so this is a new file, we're going to save as. And it opens up, it's called Untitled. Let's go ahead and call it Tessellation Final. And we'll be good to go.